Would you agree that communication between any spouses or any relationship can be somewhat difficult? And then you add personal finances on top of that. You're just asking for trouble, right? So that's been an issue that I've had. It's been an issue that I've struggled with, but over time I've gotten better. I've gotten better at communicating with my spouse, and it has made the transition a little easier. And so today, that's what I want to do. I want to share this method with you and allow you to practice it and give you time to understand it. And I'll break it down a little easier into it's a 3-step communication method that I've found that has been effective. It has allowed me to improve my communication process when it comes to personal finances, and then that carries over into other areas. So typically, what have you witnessed or what have you seen when you want to address a behavior, a financial behavior in your spouse? Typically, my experience has been when I approach it in a different way. For example, when I use words like always or never, you always or you never, guess what happens? Well, more likely the message is not well received and people shut down and you can't get across to them. And so at the end of the day, your intended goal is not reached because, hey, there was a barrier there preventing you from communicating. And so this method has a 3-part component. It has 3 elements that make it effective because you shift your mentality from attacking that person to addressing that behavior. You shift from attacking that person into addressing or bringing that behavior to that person's attention. And so, what message or what communication style is this? This is called the I message, the letter I message. And so this message, the I message, again, those 3 critical components, those 3 critical elements are behavior, event, and finally, emotions or feelings. So let's break it down and look at it section by section or one of the elements at a time. The first element again was the behavior. And so for our exercise in our example, I'll be using the following: a spouse spending $100 on lottery tickets. And so how would you go about it? How would you address it? How would you go about it if you wanted to present this topic, this behavior to your spouse? Again, we address the behavior. So it will start out like this: hey, hon, when you spend $100 on lottery tickets, so 2 things to keep in mind here, 2 things to consider. When you address that behavior, you want to make sure that it can't be disputed. So in other words, there is evidence. The tickets are right there in front of you, and that you only address one behavior at a time. It can be tempting to combine all elements into one, but I want to encourage you just to consider one at a time. It makes that process a lot easier. And so moving forward, what's the next step? Well, you look at the event that behavior caused. And in this case, because there was $100 spent on lottery tickets, the event is I did not have enough money to cover the utilities. Okay, so behavior, spent $100 on tickets. Event, did not have enough money to cover utilities. Did not have enough money to cover utilities, and you had to borrow. Finally, the emotion that event triggered. Okay, so if you had to borrow money to cover utilities, what feelings did you have? Were you embarrassed? Say that. Because I had to borrow money, I was embarrassed. So that's the way you would approach it. Again, those 3 elements are very important, very critical, and they are handled in that manner. And you look at the behavior, the event, and the emotion that has caused. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Some words of advice is when you address it in this way, you want to make sure that it is done in an environment where there's nothing else going on. So if there's been other topics being discussed, other heated discussions, I would not suggest that this be done. Also, it is best handled or best approached or best delivered. Also, it is best delivered in a room when it's just the both of you. So remove all distractions and make sure that it is being handled. That is the only topic being discussed at the moment. And make sure you don't want to do it in front of other people, in front of other children, just because it makes the situation awkward. And again, this method is effective because you're focusing and addressing the behavior and not attacking that person, which is what usually tends to happen. So don't get discouraged if after a few times it doesn't come out. Write it down, just like any other communication method. Write it down, practice it, rehearse it. It'll get better over time, and the more you use it, the more effective it'll become. And so now, once those behaviors are addressed and corrected, we would hope, then you can move on to the praising side of that. So this method can also be used to provide encouragement, to provide praise, to give that person that necessary, that boost to get them going. An example I recently received, an example I recently saw, was when my wife said the following. She said, "Hey, hon, when you work on the budget," that's the behavior, working on the budget, the event, "and you take my expenses and you look at them and you ask me if that is enough," that's the event. So what did that event cause? What emotion, what feeling did that cause? It makes me feel appreciated and valued. So again, the three elements can be used to address the behavior. I will also want to encourage you to start using it to praise, to provide that feedback, which is very important. So what does that look like altogether? That praise that I received is, "Hey, hon, when you work on the budget and you take my accounts, you take my expenses, and you ask if the funds are enough, that makes me feel valued and respected." Why? Well, because I'm including my spouse in the communication part of it. I'm including her to walk in that journey of financial success. So that's it, pretty straightforward. Again, those three elements are the behavior, the events, and the emotion or the feelings. Best of luck when you use it. Take your time, don't rush it, just like anything else, it takes practice. I hope you enjoyed this short session on the iMessage and the communication style. If you will, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I will be providing communication tips on finances, how to address finances, how to be effective, and how to be successful in your finances. Drop me a comment down below and let me know what you learned from it and when you plan to implement this style. We'll see you around. Thanks. Bye.